This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Suspected scammer charged in Westmoreland. A suspected lottery scammer has been charged following his arrest in a pre-dawn operation in White House, Westmoreland on Thursday. Reports are that between the hours of 4 a.m. and 8 a.m., lawmen from the lottery scam task force searched the suspect's home. The police say they also did an on-site examination of his cellular phone and found several files with names, addresses, telephone numbers, and banking information of people residing overseas. He was arrested and has since been charged with possession of identity information and possession of access device. He has been identified as 21-year-old Tafori Pinnock, otherwise called Taffy, of Rowtown, White House in Westmoreland. Resident disarms a robber and hands over firearm to police. A Mossberg shotgun with 4 12-gauge cartridges was handed over to the police in Westmoreland on Wednesday. Reports from the Savannah Lamar police are that about 10:45 p.m., an unknown assailant attempted to rob a resident on the Culloden Main Road in the parish. The resident, however, disarmed the would-be robber and summoned the police. On their arrival, the firearm and the ammunition were handed over to the cops. Friends and a family in mourning after missing resort manager found dead. Even though she suspected that her missing father, resort manager Clyde Taylor, would not be found alive, the confirmation of his death was a body blow that left Shamara Taylor devastated on Thursday. It was one of my dad's friends who called to say they found my father's body. When I heard, my body went cold because I couldn't believe what he was saying. But we knew that it was going to lead to this because knowing the person who my father was, he was going to fight whoever came at him. He was never going to just let it go by. They would have to do something like this to him for him not to come home, a distraught Shamara told the news. On Thursday, the 65-year-old's employees, friends, and those who worked in the tourism industry struggled to come to grips with the tragic end to a nightmare that began last Saturday. That was the day he was last seen, telling his sister Vanna Taylor, herself a well-known player in the tourism industry, that he was headed out for a few hours. He allegedly left his home in Salem Runaway Bay for Ocherius, did a routine check-in with an employee via phone, and then vanished. It was unlike him to not notify relatives about his whereabouts, so the family's hopes that he would return safely to them began to fade after 2 days had passed. Police say Taylor's body was found with several chop wounds in a Nissan Note motorcar shortly after midday on Thursday in the district of Top Hill in Hampton, Runaway Bay. I never knew that these days I had with him would be the last days of seeing my father. I never imagined that someone would take him away from us in such a manner, Shamara lamented as she related his death. I never knew this would be a part of me and my siblings' story. The 31-year-old said she recently returned to Jamaica from Brazil, where she lived for several years. Since returning home, she has been living with her dad, and his death has left her in shambles. I just came back in April last year because when I was away, I spoke with him every day. He was always there for me. I can never say I called on my father for something and he disappointed me, Shamara told the news. She said he was just as present in his other children's lives and his eldest son and daughter could also depend on him. He was always helping my brother and sister with their restaurant. Whenever we call on Daddy, he always shows up. It doesn't matter even if you and him are not on good terms. You tell him you need something, he says all right, and he gets it done. He was a family man and always around his children, Shamara added. This generosity and willingness to help extended to others outside the family, she said, so it was difficult to understand why anyone would want to harm him. There is always somebody with some story, and he tried to save everybody, she added. The elder Taylor was well known within the tourism sector, and the news of his death has rattled those who knew him from his role as manager at the Fisherman's Point Resort in Ocherius. Mr. Taylor and his sister Vanna, who serves as a second vice president of the Jamaica Hotel and Tourist Association, have been stalwarts of Jamaica's tourism industry for several decades, contributing much to the development of the industry. We mourn his loss. May he rest in peace, said JHTA President Clifton Reeder in a brief statement. Regional Director at the Jamaica Tourist Board, Odette Dyer, expressed a sorrow after hearing of Taylor's tragic passing. This is really such a blow to the industry to have such a stalwart, somebody who has been in the industry as long as he has, to leave us in such a manner. It is very unfortunate, and I'm sending our prayers and the thoughts and the deepest condolences to the family, she told the news. Shanika Rattray, an employee at a Fisherman's Resort, was also among those devastated by the news. Mr. Taylor was a very nice person. He is good with his employees, even though he can also be strict when it comes on to his work. I'm very disappointed to know that someone would do such a thing, she said. Most schools get a green light to resume face-to-face classes. It's been reported that the majority of public schools have been inspected by the Ministry of Health and given the go-ahead to resume physical classes for all students. According to Education Minister Favour Williams, about 5 schools are awaiting clearance from the public health inspectors. Mrs. Williams said some of the schools were termite infested and have been treated, while others are undergoing major renovation. The Education Minister argued that with more than half the school cohort already attending classes, there is no justifiable reason for a delay in the resumption of face-to-face classes. Full face-to-face instruction will begin on March 7, she said, noting that her ministry, along with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, had done everything that we can to ensure that the environment is safe for our students. On March 7 is the date when we're expecting that our students will be back in the face-to-face environment, and together with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we would have done everything that we can to ensure that the environment is safe for our students. We continue to encourage our students to wear masks. Students on entering the school environment would need to be sanitized, their temperature checked, she explained. Mrs. Williams insisted that no school should operate on a blended approach unless approved by the ministry. The minister, who was speaking with the news, was told by the host that a listener reported that 2 schools sent emails to their students saying they would continue the rotational modality currently in use until further notice. Asked if she was aware of this move by some schools, Mrs. Williams said it had not come to her attention before, but that is not the directive that would have gone out to our schools at all. Mrs. Williams said 5,000 COVID-19 test kits have been distributed to schools, while 400,000 masks are being provided. More test kits will be provided through the National Health Fund. Funds for sanitation and to purchase furniture have also been released to schools. The minister said she will be meeting with administrators of shift schools to iron out their concerns ahead of the full resumption of face-to-face classes on Monday. The principals of these schools are concerned about the requirement for there to be physical distancing in classrooms. We have worked with the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and they would have indicated that they understand that that might not be possible anymore, and so they have asked, and we have been asking our teachers in the classroom, our administrators, to increase their level of vigilance, she said. Parents concerned about their children returning to physical classes should contact the school or a regional office. The Education Minister said a plan is in place to help students who missed the classes during the 2 years of disruption. Again, our schools keep a register of students so they would know which students they have not been in touch with. Those students who have not been engaged, when they come back in the classroom, work would be done with them, an assessment to see where they are on the learning curve, and additional work has to be done with those students. We are in the process of launching our National Homework Support and Extra Lessons effort. We know that many of our children are behind, and so you know the effort is going to have to be a big one, she added. Case against the former Haitian senator and the family adjourned to next Thursday. The case against the former Haitian senator John Joel Joseph, his wife and the 2 children for illegal entry into Jamaica has been adjourned until next Thursday, March 10, to facilitate an interview with the Passport, Immigration and the Citizenship Agency relating to their application for refugee status. The family was charged with illegal entry into the island after they allegedly fled Haiti after Joseph was linked to the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. A representative from PICO was present in court yesterday, Thursday, March 3, indicating that while the immigration agency received the application for Joseph's wife and the children, they had not done the interview portion of the application process. We have attempted to have the process expedited, attorney at law for the family, Donahue Martin, told the court, noting that the results of the application for refugee status should not take more than a month given the sensitive nature of the case. At the same time, Martin reiterated that the wife was fearful that their lives would be taken if they returned to Haiti. She had a gun pointed in her face, Martin said, speaking of an alleged incident that happened to her while she was in her homeland. However, due to the allegations being brought against Joseph by the Haitian authorities, he is not eligible to apply for asylum in Jamaica. The news understands that Joseph arrived in the island illegally by boat in December last year, along with his family members, and he is one of 3 key suspects who were being hunted in relation to the July 2021 assassination of former Haitian President Moïse. Moïse was killed on July 7 when a hit team invaded the presidential residence and shot him. His wife, Maritine, was wounded but survived. Judicial police have questioned at least 21 presidential guards who were present on the fateful night. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.